Welcome back to Wall Again, where passion meets music. In this episode, I'm going to be ranking my top 10 perfect albums. So you might ask, what is a perfect album? Well, to me, a perfect album is an album that gets 10 out of 10 on a score or a ranking, okay? It's all killer, no filler, there's no tracks that I skip, and when I get to the end of the album, I just want to go back to the start again. So as you know me, I love loads of different styles of music, rock, metal, progressive rock, grunge, classic rock, hard rock, whatever you want to call it. I like all those different styles. So it's going to be very interesting to see where this list lies, because it's going to be a bit all over the map. There's going to be all different styles of music in here, but these are the albums that I consider my top 10 perfect albums. So let's dive straight in here. Coming in at number 10, it's an album by Canadian progressive rock band Rush, and it's Moving Pictures, released in 1981. So this album is pretty amazing, to be honest. There's no tracks that I would skip on this. I could have picked other Rush albums, possibly, to fit into this list, but I decided to go with Moving Pictures because I just think it's got no bad tracks on it. 2112 is a fantastic album, but you know, there's a couple of songs in there like The Twilight Zone, not really that good, and kind of lets the album down. So I don't think you could consider that a perfect album in the traditional sense, but I think Moving Pictures is definitely one. Starts off with Tom Sawyer, which is arguably one of Rush's most popular songs, certainly one of the most well-known songs. Absolutely brilliant song. It's got great use of keys. There was all the synthesizers and all this type of instrumentation was coming into the band's sound. Of course, Geddy Lee was very, very important in pushing the band in that direction in the 1980s. I actually liked that direction. I think in the 1970s, Rush had certainly forged a path, bringing sort of hard rock music. Certainly their first album was like a hard rock album, sounded like Led Zeppelin meets The Who. But as they went on through the 70s, they kept bringing in more progressive elements of different styles of music into their sound. And I think come the end of the 70s, they'd pretty much done it all that they could. And this is when they started looking to different directions. A lot more keyboards coming into things. But I think this album still rocks. There's still a lot of guitar on this album, and I don't think it's too heavy on the keyboards. Even though there's a lot of keyboard sounds on it, I still think it retains a lot of the edge that you have from the 1970s albums. Pretty much Alex Lifeson, his guitar is prevalent all over this album. Plenty of brilliant guitar solos, and of course Neil Peart is still rocking on the drums. Of course, Geddy Lee, aside from playing keys and synthesizers and other instruments, he also still lays down fantastic bass on this album, and he's still a fantastic singer. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. Move on then to Red Barchetta, which I think is an excellent song. I think this is one of the longest songs on the album at 6 minutes and 9 seconds. But yeah, an absolute belter out of the tracks for the first two albums. Then we come to the instrumental song YYZ, or YYZ as we call it in Europe. Again, this is another fantastic track. This is actually an instrumental track, and the letters YYZ or YYZ is actually the code for the airport in Toronto. So Rush giving a little hat nod to their hometown there of Toronto in Canada. Then we move on to song number 4, which is probably arguably one of Rush's most defining songs, along with Tom Sawyer. This is a song called Limelight. It's absolutely fantastic. Starts off with a great riff from Alex Lifeson. The guitar solo in this song is amazing. Alex broke it down on a fantastic YouTube video on Shred with Shifty. Of course, Chris Shiflett is the guitar player from Foo Fighters, but he's also got a YouTube channel, and he brings on legendary guitar players to talk about fantastic guitar solos that they've played and break them down and show us how to play them. So Alex did a version of that. You should definitely go check that out. Limelight is a fantastic guitar solo, fantastic guitar song, and definitely one of Rush's best songs. Then we move on to the second half of the album. Might not be as strong as the first half, but still no tracks that I would skip on this one. The Camera Eye is absolutely fantastic. It clocks in at just under 11 minutes. And honestly, yeah, an absolutely fantastic piece of music. and all the different parts of that song. Again, keys are very prevalent and heavy on that song. And then the last two songs, Witch Hunt and Vital Signs, again, two absolutely brilliant Rush songs. Mightn't be the ones you think of when you think of Rush, but certainly Rush fans who like the deep cuts would definitely appreciate those songs. So that's why Rush is coming in at number 10 with their classic album Moving Pictures from 1981. Okay, coming in at number 9, it is the Beatles, Abbey Road. Okay, so I could have picked a number of different Beatles albums to put into this list, but I wanted to keep it to one album per band. I think that was only the fairest way to do it, and that's why I've gone with Abbey Road. Now, there are other fantastic Beatles albums. Of course, there's Revolver, there's Rubber Soul. Some people think Sgt. Pepper's is an absolute classic, me included, but I do think there's some flaws in that album, and maybe we can talk about that on a different video. The White Album is brilliant, but I think it's just too long, and there's a lot of ideas there that are half-baked. But I don't think there's much half-baked on this album, to be honest. Starts off with Come Together, of course. John Lennon with an absolutely fantastic song, Out of the Traps. The bass guitar on Come Together is so famous. This song has been covered by so many bands over the years. It's a brilliant rock song. Then we move into Something, which is George Harrison's song. Probably one of George Harrison's best songs that he ever wrote. It's absolutely brilliant. It's a ballad type song, love song, but certainly fits in well on this one. Next we have Maxwell's Silver Hammer, which is a Paul McCartney song. Probably the weakest song on the album, but I still think it's actually a good song. A lot of people give this song a lot of stick and say maybe it shouldn't have been included in the album, or it might be a low point of the album. But I certainly think it's a decent song. It's a little bit tongue-in-cheek, and you kind of have to listen to it on that basis. But I think in the whole realm of this album, this song isn't really too out of kilter. I do like it. Then we have another Paul McCartney song, I believe, Oh Darling, which is absolutely brilliant. Another ballad-type love song. And then we go into the Ringo Starr classic, Octopus's Garden, which is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Ringo, he didn't sing so many songs in the Beatles catalogue, but some of the ones he did sing are absolutely timeless. Like Octopus's Garden is brilliant. Of course, Yellow Submarine is another classic, and With a Little Help from My Friends. So I think Ringo's contributions to the Beatles is fantastic, even though he was the drummer, and he certainly he wasn't a strong songwriter, but I still think his contributions are very worthwhile in the band. Then we go on to a song called I Want You, She's So Heavy. This is a brilliant blues rock song, but it's also probably considered like a hard rock or heavy rock song. It's based around a chord progression at the end that goes on and on and on, and then the tape just cuts at the end of the A side of vinyl. They didn't bother editing it or fading it out. They just cut midstream, and it sounds really, really jarring, but really, really good at the same time. Then on to the second half of the album, and we've got Because, which is a great song. You Never Give Me Your Money, another brilliant, and Sun King. Then we go into a medley, which is a number of songs basically fused together in what could be considered early prog rock. I don't think John Lennon was a fan of the next few tracks, but I'm a massive fan of this. So we've got Me, Mr. Mustard, Polythene Pam, and She Comes In Through the Bathroom Window. Then that goes on to Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight, which is another great song, The End, and then it ends with a Paul McCartney song, Her Majesty, which again cuts off quite jarring in the middle of a chord sequence. But to be honest with you, I think this is the Beatles' best album. It's obviously an album that was the last one that was released. The last one that was recorded, but it was the second last one that was released. Let It Be was recorded before Abbey Road, but Let It Be was released after the Beatles split up in 1970. But again, Let It Be is another brilliant album, but it's nowhere near this in my opinion. So Abbey Road comes in there at number 9. Okay, going to take a little drink here because this is a long list. And we're only 2 through. So I'll try and speed it up a little bit now as we go through. Next album for me, totally different style of music here. We're gone from Rush to the Beatles, and now we're into AC/DC. And from 1980, Back in Black. An absolute classic by the band. I think this is their best album. I know a lot of people have love for Powerage or Highway to Hell, but in my opinion, Back in Black stands up more than the rest. I don't think it's got any bad songs on it from start to finish. It was produced by Mutt Lange, of course, so it's got a fantastic sound. The production is exquisite on this one. It starts off with Hell's Bells. What can I say? An absolute classic. One of the best AC/DC riffs and songs of all time, with that bell in the background in perfect time. It's got a great groove. Phil Rudd is on top form in this one. Again, another brilliant guitar solo from Angus Young, and the riffs by Malcolm are just amazing. Have to say, for the first song that Brian Johnson comes into the band and plays, this is really a great statement of intent. You know, like after Bon Scott had passed away, people were probably wondering what the new singer from AC/DC would be like, and then Brian just comes in, Rolling Thunder. It's absolutely brilliant, absolutely brilliant. A great way to introduce yourself to AC/DC fans. The second song on this album is Shoot the Thrill, which is a great rocker. Absolutely love it. It's a high octane rock song. Really takes you back to a kind of rock and roll roots, but a little bit faster, a little bit heavier. Brilliant rhythm guitar by Malcolm Young on this one. Absolutely brilliant. Then we go into What Do You Do for Money, Honey, which is a little bit tongue-in-cheek, typical AC/DC. They're always throwing in a bit of humour in there, followed by Giving the Dog a Bone and Let Me Put My Love Into You. So this is just AC/DC being themselves, having fun, writing funny lyrics and innuendos and all the rest, and it really, really works well on this album. Then we go into one of the best AC/DC songs of all time, Back in Black. What a fantastic groove on this one, I have to say. Amazing. Great rhythm guitar from Malcolm Young. Really knows where to leave space for drums to poke through, etc. The production on this is absolutely amazing. Backing vocals again are brilliant. Brian Johnson's voice is really, really up there in terms of his pitch and his range, and it sounds absolutely amazing. Seen so many bands make a mess of this over the years, including Guns N' Roses. But AC/DC, they are just fantastic at this type of music. High octane rock and roll. Number 7 is probably one of AC/DC's most well-known songs. You Shook Me All Night Long. Absolutely brilliant. Again, great riff from Malcolm. Great groove from Phil Rudd. And then the bass chopping in and out from Cliff Williams. Absolutely brilliant. You cannot beat it. And then it finishes up with Have a Drink on Me. Again, another brilliant riff. Shake a Leg, which is a great song. And then Rock and Roll, Ain't Noise Pollution. Would you believe one of the very first songs I ever heard from AC/DC was Rock and Roll, Ain't Noise Pollution. It was played on a rock show that used to be on 2FM back in probably the 1990s. And I stuck on the radio one night and there was Rock and Roll, Ain't Noise Pollution. And I think there was a Rolling Stones song called It's Only Rock and Roll, but I like it. And I have to say, I was just at that point blown away by the music here. But yeah, definitely Back in Black coming in at number 8, and deservedly so. Okay, coming in at number 7, what I consider Deep Purple's best album, Machine Head. Absolutely brilliant. This is actually an anniversary copy, so you don't really see the original cover on this. I'll see if I can get it out for you here. But Machine Head, yeah, is definitely my favourite Deep Purple album. I think it's flawless from start to finish. I don't think there's a bad track on it. There you go. That's the original cover of the album. Absolutely brilliant. But yeah, this one really rocks for me, guys. So it starts off with none other than Highway Star, my favourite Deep Purple song, my favourite Deep Purple guitar solo. Richie Blackmore is absolutely on fire on this one. It's very fast, it's hard rocking, it's everything you want from Deep Purple. They're absolutely on top form on this. I've seen a couple of videos of Richie Blackmore playing this solo live. He never replicated what he did on the CD, which is kind of, you know, any videos I've seen anyway, he's never replicated that. A little bit disappointing because I think what he pulls off on the recording here is absolutely amazing. Joe Satriani plays it note for note when Chickenfoot used to play it live a few years ago, and he also played the keyboard part as well as the lead guitar part, and it was just phenomenal. Joe Satriani is a great player, but I think Highway Star is definitely one of the best Deep Purple songs. It's my favourite anyway. There's no question about that. Coming in at number 2 is Maybe I'm a Leo, which is a great blues rock song, all based around a great riff The bass on this one is pumping. Roger Glover is in top form. Of course, Ian Pace as well, brilliant. And John Lord on the keys. Ian Gillan on the vocals as well, we should say. Maybe I'm a Leo is brilliant. Pictures of Home is something completely different. Fast tempo. Got a great groove there from the keyboard. And then we have Never Before. Again, another riffy type song. Sounds a little bit like maybe Black Sabbath mixed with Led Zeppelin. But absolutely fantastic. Moving on to the second side, then we have the classic Smoke on the Water. One of the most iconic rock songs of all time. It's all about that riff. That riff from Smoke on the Water pretty much invents heavy rock or heavy metal or whatever you want to call it. It's unbelievable. Absolutely brilliant. Often imitated, but never equaled. Then we have Lazy, which is a great song, and it finishes with, again, another one of my favourite Deep Purple songs, Space Truckin'. What an absolute classic from Deep Purple on this one, Space Truckin'. Again, it's fast, it's heavy, it's got great guitar work, great drums, and then of course Ian Gillan's vocals on this one is phenomenal. Blow you away. So that is coming in at number 7. Coming in at number 6, a band that I'm getting into and a genre that I'm getting into, prog rock, and it's Yes, Close to the Edge. Picked this one up not too long ago, and have to say I have been so impressed by this album. There's only actually 3 tracks on the album if you take it on face value, even though there's chapters within each of the tracks. But I think the music on this is absolutely fantastic. It just flows from one section to another. Of course, led by the fantastic John Anderson on vocals. Absolutely brilliant. We've got Bill Bruford on percussion, drums, and we've got Steve Howe on guitar and vocals, Chris Squire on bass and vocals, and Rick Wakeman on keyboards. But this is one of the best prog rock albums of all time, if not the best. It's absolutely fantastic. Doesn't put a foot wrong anywhere. Starts off with Close to the Edge, The Solid Time of Change, Total Mass Retain, I Get Up, I Get Down, and Seasons of Man. Absolutely brilliant. The first side, it's about 20 minutes long. It's one side of vinyl, and it's absolutely rocking throughout. It's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant prog rock song. Moving on to side 2, And You and I, which contains 4 chapters. So Chord of Life, Eclipse, The Preacher, The Teacher, and Apocalypse. Absolutely brilliant. Blow you away. Again, I can't stress this enough, how the music flows into each other and keeps your attention for, 10, 15, 20 minutes, passages of music that are unbroken. It's unbelievable. And I find the more you listen, the more you will discover that's covered, or should I say, that's buried underneath all this music and melodies and counter melodies, harmonies. The guitar work is absolutely fantastic. The keys is brilliant. It's really just a fantastic orchestration of rock music, I suppose, is what you would call it. And then on to the final track, which is Siberian Catru. Again, that's another brilliant song. And I think Yes are just on top form on this one. And really looking forward to diving into more of the Yes albums. But to me, I think this is their best one. Okay, coming into the top 5 here, we have Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. A lot of people that like Pink Floyd would consider other albums to be their favourite, but not me. I think this is a 10 out of 10 album. Pink Floyd in absolute top form on this one, no doubt about it. So we start off with Speak to Me, followed by Breathe. An absolutely brilliant opening to an album. Epic is the only word I can describe. I can use to describe these songs, should I say. Then we go into On the Run, which is again another brilliant song from Pink Floyd. Definitely up there as one of their top songs. And then we get the next song, Time, which is absolutely fantastic. It starts off with all these clocks ringing, and it's just such a brilliant concept in this album, of what we're talking about here. We're talking about loads of different themes, but time is something that's a theme that's prevalent throughout the whole album. And I have to say, it's really, really impressive how they're able to get all these clocks and all these alarm bells and stuff happening in time with the music. A little bit similar to AC/DC with the start of Back in Black, Hell's Bells, but here it's much more complex because we have different bells going off at different pitches and different timings, but they all manage to perfectly sync up with the music. A fantastic guitar solo on this one as well. And then we have Great Gig in the Sky, song number 5. A fantastic vocal on this one. Not actually any words, but this lady is singing absolutely out of her skin on this one. Can't remember her name off the top of my head, but yeah, Pink Floyd, Great Gig in the Sky. Again, one of their best songs. Pretty much an instrumental with the exception of the singing, but there's no words in it, so it's brilliant. The singer is kind of using her voice as an instrument, picking off different notes and different upper extensions without actually saying any words. So brilliant. Then we move on to song number 6, which is probably Pink Floyd's most iconic, or one of their most iconic songs, Money. It's been covered by so many bands, it appears in so many movies, but it's an absolute brilliant song. Then we move on to Us and Them, another classic from Pink Floyd. Then Any Colour You Like, Brain Damage, and we finish off with Eclipse. Definitely a 10 out of 10 for me, and well deserving as its place at number 5 in my list. Coming in at number 4, had to pick a metal album. So obviously there's only one metal band that's going to appear on this list, and that's Metallica. So I had to pick an album from Metallica. I could have gone with the Black Album, I could have gone with Injustice for All, but I've decided to go for Master of Puppets. So if we're talking about musicality alone, Injustice for All is probably Metallica's best album. If we're talking about production mixed with music, we're probably talking about the Black Album. But if we're talking about a fantastic production and fantastic music joined together, no skip tracks, I think it's hard to beat Master of Puppets as a perfect album. There's not one note of music on this that shouldn't be here. Everything on this album is exactly where it should be, and the band were exactly where they should be in 1986 when this album was released. We start off with Battery, which starts off with some really nice acoustic guitar, and you really don't know what's coming next, and then it just rocks in with Battery, and the tempo of that, it really is thrash metal at its best. Battery is 5 minutes 10 seconds, but be under no illusion that there's not much music in a song, because this is probably one of the shortest songs on the album. There is so much music on this song because the tempo is so fast that it's just unbelievable. It's really taken punk roots and bringing it into metal, and that's what thrash is all about. Taking inspiration from bands like Motorhead and Saxon, Diamond Head, all these bands from the new wave of British heavy metal, but infusing a little bit of punk in there. You know, Ramones, Sex Pistols, you can hear all those elements in the speed of this song, but technically way, way better. Thinking about bands like Deep Purple and Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. It's all in here, and this is a thrash metal masterpiece. Then we go on to the title track, Master of Puppets. It's 8 minutes and 38 seconds. It's just an epic. It takes you through so many different styles within the song, because we've got like some lovely medieval ballad type sections in the middle, but we've also got blistering guitar solo by Kirk Hammett. We've got great guitar solos by James Hetfield with elements of blues in there, and then we have thrash metal, just flat out thrash metal when the band are on full tilt in the verses and chorus and bridge. It's absolutely brilliant. It's epic. The lyrics are fantastic. And it's just one of the best Metallica songs of all time, Master of Puppets. Then we move into The Thing That Should Not Be. Drop tuning for this one of Metallica's heaviest songs, but it's slow, it's sludgy, it's dark. It reminds me of Into the Void by Black Sabbath. I think they were definitely taking inspiration there when they wrote this song, but again, it's such a heavy, heavy song. Then we move on to song number 4, which is traditionally Metallica's ballad song. It's Welcome Home Sanitarium. And again, absolutely brilliant. Fantastic guitar playing on this from not only James Hetfield, but also from Kirk Hammett. His guitar solo on the outro for this song is phenomenal. But give credit to Hetfield on the songwriting on this song. It's tuned a little bit differently, but he's able to get this fantastic sound on a clean guitar. A clean ESP guitar, I believe, if not a Gibson at the time, with humbucker pickups, and he was able to get this fantastic tone on Welcome Home Sanitarium. Really, really brilliant in the middle of the album, the perfect place that it should be on the album, because next we've got Disposable Heroes, which is absolutely crushing. 8 minutes and 14 seconds of absolute thrash metal bliss. It's brilliant. It never takes a break the whole way through the song, and it's hard to know how the guys can actually play this live, because It's so fast, it's so heavy, and it's so long. Absolutely brilliant. Even though it's long, it still keeps your attention for the whole song. Brilliant. Coming at number 6 is Leper Messiah. An absolutely brilliant song again. It's got a fantastic riff and a fantastic groove. I think this is really where Metallica were, coming into their own in songwriting and production and able to get a song that sounds really, really heavy but has a great groove. And there's no grooves better on this album than Leper Messiah. Then we have an instrumental song, as Metallica were so often known for. Number 7 is Orion. We've got a bass solo from Cliff Burton. We've got guitar solos from James Hetfield. We've got guitar solos from Kirk Hammett. Don't think there's any drum solos from Lars Ulrich. But apart from that, Orion is an absolutely fantastic masterpiece. Again, clocking in at over 8 minutes. So you can see why this album is so epic. There's really, really long tracks. But as I said at the start, not a second or not a note of music that shouldn't be there. It ends up with a song called Damage Inc., which I think is probably the shortest song on the album, along with Battery. But yeah, again, another frantic thrash metal song. So this album, 10 out of 10, all killer, no filler. When I get to the end, I just want to go back to the start, and it's well deserving at its place at number 4 in my list. Into the top 3. So we've gone from metal and now we go into good old-fashioned classic rock. Some people might call it AOR, some people call it hard rock. I don't know, I just call it 10 out of 10. It's great, it's absolutely brilliant. Boston's debut album, brilliant. This is what I think of when I think of classic rock, okay? You're talking about fantastic drums, bass, brilliant guitars, lead guitars, harmony guitars, keys, acoustic guitars, and then Brad Delp's fantastic vocals over the top of all this. Of course, this band was the idea of Tom Scholz. He pretty much recorded all the music on the album, with the exception of, I think the drums might have been re-recorded, and of course the vocals by Brad Delp. But apart from that, most of the songs on this, all the guitars, all the bass, all the keys, and I think even some of the drums were recorded by Tom Scholz. But starts off with one of the classic songs from the 1970s, More Than a Feeling, which is absolutely brilliant. It's been recorded by so many different bands. It appears in so many different movies. It's just synonymous with classic rock. An absolutely brilliant song. But it doesn't end there. Then it goes into a brilliant song called Peace of Mind, which has a great riff at the start of it. It's a rocker. Again, there's fantastic lead guitar work in this by Tom Scholz. And then we go into what I would consider a prog rock song on an AOR album. Imagine that. This song is called Foreplay Long Time. It's number 3 on the album, and it clocks in at just under 8 minutes. It's got a fantastic keyboard solo intro, and then it goes into the main part of the song, which is called Long Time. Absolutely brilliant. It's definitely prog. You should go check it out, and it really, really rocks. Then we got Rock and Roll Band, Smokin', another great song, Hitchin' a Ride, which is pretty good, Something About You, and then Let Me Take You Home Tonight. But again, there's no bad songs on this album. There might be little dips here and there, but it's still a 10 out of 10. And when you get to the end, you really just want to go back to the start. And coming in at number 2, it is Nirvana, Nevermind. Released in 1991. First heard this album, well, I was aware of this album when it came out, but I bought it when I was about 15. And I have to say, it had a major impact on me. I thought it was absolutely amazing. The songs on this are absolutely top drawer. Starts off with Smells Like Teen Spirit, of course, one of those popular songs of all time, an absolute rock staple. Then it goes into In Bloom, which is probably equally as well known at this stage. Leads on then to Come As You Are. Nirvana showing a different side here. More of a quieter song in parts, also has the heavy parts as well, but a slower tempo than the first two. Then we go into Breed, which is just a pure balls to the wall punk rock song, absolutely brilliant, great riffs on that one. And into Lithium then, song number 5. So first 5 songs on this album, absolutely brilliant, class, and they really, really knock you out. I find that with all the best albums, first 4 or 5 songs completely floor you. There's no poor songs at all in any of these albums, but certainly the first 5, they come straight out of the gates and really hit you hard. Then we go into Polly, which is kind of like an acoustic song. It's absolutely brilliant though still, and production on this album is amazing. Butch Vig does a fantastic job. The guitars sound really, really big and they're layered. They sound really good because they're pan left and pan right, but he's also using different types of guitars and different amps and blending all those sounds together to get a really, really huge sound. Bass is lovely and full and deep, and of course Dave Grohl on the drums absolutely knocks it out of the park on this album. He is fantastic and playing out of his skin, all pulled together by Butch Vig. Fantastic mixing and production on this album. It's unbelievable. Then we go into song number 7, Territorial Pistons, which is just very much a punk rock angry song, but with great aggression and great drumming by Dave Grohl on that one, to be fair. Then we've got Drain You, followed by Lounge Act and Stay Away. 3 songs I always put in the same category as the back half of the album, but again, really, really strong songs. There's no filler on this album whatsoever. Song number 11 is On a Plane, and then it finishes with Something in the Way, which again is another quiet acoustic ballady type song, but there's a song at the end, a secret song called Endless Nameless, if you wait around for the end of track 12 on CD. So an absolutely knockout album, brilliant, a great cover as well. It's very synonymous with Nirvana and the whole concept of chasing money from the day we're born. So yeah, absolutely brilliant. As I said, produced by Butch Vig and Nirvana, and it's obviously mixed by Andy Wallace. But to me, this is coming in at number 2 in terms of my top 10 perfect albums of all time. Okay, coming in at number 1, it's really no surprise, is it? Has to be Led Zeppelin 4. Talk about all killer, no filler. There is no bad songs on this album. Every single song is a 10 out of 10. Never mind the album being a 10 out of 10. Of course, this is Led Zeppelin's untitled album, or their 4th album. Number 4, Four Symbols. I've seen it called many different names, but it doesn't really matter what it's called. People know what this album is all about. Starts off with starts off with Black Dog, which is all based around an absolutely fantastic riff by Jimmy Page, but the timing on this is really odd by John Bonham, and it's really, really heavy. Absolutely brilliant. One of the best rock or blues rock songs of all time. Black Dog absolutely blows me away. Then we move into Rock and Roll, which is based on a 12-bar blues riff by Jimmy Page, but again, we've got heavy drums by Bonham, and Robert Plant absolutely on fire on this one as well. Moving down to a folk song called The Battle of Evermore, which is the 3rd track on the album. This song actually has some additional lead vocals by an artist called Sandy Denny, and they really add to the ambience and feel of this folk rock song. And this really brings you down a little bit after 2 very high tempo songs. Brings you down and gets you ready for arguably the most iconic rock song of all time, Stairway to Heaven. Starts off with a very quiet acoustic sounding ballad. It starts off with guitar from Jimmy Page and of course John Paul Jones in there, and I think he's playing the organ. And then we have Robert Plant with those fantastic vocals coming in. It all then comes to a climax. It builds up a gear where John Bonham comes in with his drums. Then the guitars get a bit heavier, and then we hear Jimmy Page with one of the most fantastic guitar solos of all time. Absolutely brilliant. And then it ends with that outro, which is just magnificent. Definitely one of the best songs of all time, and deservedly so, Stairway to Heaven. Moving on to the second half of the album, Misty Mountain Hop, another brilliant song, got a great riff on it and a great groove. Then we move on to Four Sticks, which is another amazing song from Led Zeppelin. Really no bad songs on this album. As I said, everyone is 10 out of 10. Second last song is Going to California, which is a fantastic folk song again. Fantastic guitar playing by Jimmy Page as well. The whole way through this album, Jimmy is on fire. But in the folk ballads, you can really hear him shining. A little bit different to what he's doing on the rock stuff, but I have to say, all in all, it's absolutely brilliant. And then we end with When the Levee Breaks, which is John Bonham basically showing why he is the best drummer in rock of all time, and there's no disputing that whatsoever in my mind. So there you go, guys. That's my top 10 perfect albums of all time. Please let me know in the comments if you disagree with any of my choices, or maybe you would have them rearranged in a different order, and tell me what your top 10 perfect albums of all time are. You know the rules now. One album from each artist, has to be all killer, no filler. 10 out of 10, and when you get to the end, all you want to do is put that album back to the start again. So let me know in the comments what your top 10 are. If you liked the video, hit the like button, and if you could also subscribe, helps out the channel and I greatly appreciate it. And I will talk to you on the next one. Bye for now.